Breaking today, Invictus Games organisers delighted that Meghan Markle didn't show up for the big one-year countdown in Birmingham. I found this reporting absolutely fascinating because I thought that you would want a little bit more stardust than Prince Harry and his weird PDA with Alison Hammond. But no, there is a real desire within the Invictus Games to move the sideshow away from it becoming the Markle Games. And Rob Shooter reports that the organisers were delighted. He writes, Prince Harry arrived in Birmingham without Meghan Markle by his side, and insiders tell Naughty But Nice that behind the scenes, some Invictus Games organisers quietly welcomed the last-minute change. Meghan had been expected to attend the one-year countdown celebration, but pulled out just days before the event. Harry ultimately flew solo, and sources say his solo appearance made for a smoother, more relaxed day. There was a sense of relief backstage, one insider said. When Harry comes alone, the focus stays exactly where he wants it, on the veterans, not on the media frenzy that can surround a royal couple. Everyone could relax and let the event shine. A second source says Harry has earned a reputation as one of the easiest high-profile guests organisers work with. He's incredibly low maintenance, the insider says. He'll happily change plans, stay alone with athletes, and go wherever he's needed. The whole atmosphere feels lighter when it's just Harry. By contrast, another insider says Meghan's appearances often require, this is an understatement, far more coordination. Her visits usually involve extra security meetings, tighter schedules, and constant last-minute adjustments, the source explains. With Harry on his own, everything is refreshingly straightforward. The team can focus on delivering a great event instead of managing endless logistics and drama. Royal YouTube sensation Pete Diner with me. Pete Diner, look, that may all be true, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there is a growing view within Invictus that Harry is actually becoming a massive drag on the event, that they want another patron, that they believe someone like Anne, Princess Anne, or Zara or Mike Tyndall would actually be far more appropriate for the goals of the Invictus Games. While I completely understand that Meghan is a total nightmare to deal with, there was no excitement about these pictures. These pictures didn't make any front pages of the newspapers. They weren't being shown all over the websites around the world because Harry no longer has any glamour attached to him. And it's in stark contrast, for example, with William and Catherine's appearances, for example, at the Polo and at Wimbledon, which still did come with a real feeling of stardust. So while I completely understand why the Invictus Games organisers were relieved that Meghan stayed away, do you understand what I'm saying? That it still actually means there's a real gap here for Invictus in terms of trying to deal with how they're going to put on a big show if Meghan and the children are not going to be part of it next year, which was the original plan.
Right. And I think it would have been a great opportunity for Meghan to show that she can be the complete opposite of what they expected her to be, what, they thought she was going to do, and because she couldn't even just show up to be in the background, to not make a fuss, to just be low maintenance, because she couldn't do all of those things, they had to be, happy that she didn't even show up. And, Meghan, this would have been a great opportunity for her. It would have been great for Harry to be able to bring in his family. And it is quite sad that his life is in such chaos and disorder that he can't even be alongside his wife with the children, which would make it so much more nicer, I believe, because then Harry can shine and then his family is there in the background supporting him. That would make it a lot stronger and a lot more, nicer to see that he is showing his children something nice. But you have right now something that is not good. I mean, Harry is showing up as a broken prince, as I always say, and he doesn't have this wholeness about him. You know what I mean? It just seems like it's like a little bit of him coming, and it's not nice.
No, 100%. He is a broken prince, actually, Pete Dunne. I'm going to come to that in just one moment because he absolutely was proving he is a broken prince. But I do also think what he's rejecting is the life cycle of royalty. So why does royalty work, Pete Dunne? Because as soon as the younger models, let's just be honest, and I'm pretty much the same age. Well, I'm right between William and Harry. So, I'm not being offensive here. But when you get into middle age, then you have your children who come through to give that new, younger, exciting feel. And we saw over the weekend, William and Catherine prove that. So they made their appearance together at the Polo on Friday, and it was lovely. They're still a very attractive young couple because they're both very good-looking people. But then on Saturday, Catherine was at Wimbledon on her own, looking beautiful again. But on Sunday, the big event, the final, you see the children too. But because Harry and Meghan, for their own bizarre and weird reasons, have kept their children hidden away, their house, the Sussex house, I think looks really aging and looks really broken. And as you put it, I do believe Harry is a broken prince because this didn't get much pickup at all. But he actually mentioned Prince William during his UK trip. And I think that shows you how William is always on his mind. William's totally walked away. He just doesn't want to talk about Harry. He makes that abundantly clear. He actually says to the people around him, even close friends, look, I just don't want to talk about the guy anymore. Prince Harry can't actually keep William out of his mouth. Now, it was quite a sort of under the radar reference, but I picked it up. Let me just take you through the reporting from the Royalist. Harry appeared unable to escape the shadow of the brother he famously wrote about in Spare. Hoping to reset a troubled UK trip, the Duke of Sussex visited Birmingham's Children's Hospital, where a conversation about football with a young patient unexpectedly brought William back into the spotlight. After telling 12-year-old Alec Hill that he used to be an Arsenal supporter, Harry asked the young football fan, who do you support? When Alec revealed he was an Aston Villa fan, Harry appeared quick to make the connection, replying, Aston Villa. My brother supports Aston Villa. The Duke then continued to talk about the club's Europa League triumph, a victory that his brother publicly celebrated earlier this year. And Pete Diner, look, it's a small example, but do you understand the point that I'm making? Harry knows that he forever lives in the shadow of Prince William, and he's sad about it. He's bitter about it. So he does keep on bringing everything back to William and Catherine, whereas William and Catherine have just made the decision to move on and have a clean slate. Which is why I think, to go back to your point, he is a broken prince. I really feel we saw that over this visit.
Absolutely. And, trying to make that connection to his brother, I think makes Harry feel like he's still there. He's still along, the side of his brother. But yeah, we know he's not. And I think this just shows you that his brother is always on his mind. He wants to be more like his brother, to be more aligned with his brother. And he could learn a lot from his brother. But, Harry is just in a position now where he doesn't know if he's coming or going. His life is so chaotic. He doesn't even represent well because he's not even someone that can even be seen with his brother right now. So you mention him, but we know how your brother feels about you. And like, why even mention it at this point? I think he just doesn't know what he is doing right now. Harry just seems like he is this man that is trying to find an end somewhere, whether it's mentioning his brother or, showing up without his wife and never seeing his children. He's just going with the chaos at this point, and nothing makes sense with Harry. He's trying to find himself like lifted up, but he will never be lifted up because his life is in chaos. He's broken. He's in a position now where he needs true guidance and clarity of where he is in his life. And he doesn't know anything about his future, is in a disarray right now. Like, what's going to happen with his life now in California? And he's wanting to now come back to the UK, I hear. But, this is just what we're seeing. And this is what it is. Harry is completely out of his depths with everything because he doesn't have the people around him that can help him. He's in an elevated status as someone who is a prince, but he doesn't have the people around him to help guide that true uniqueness about who he is. And so now it's just completely chaotic. And I'm scared for his future, to be quite honest. It just seems like a rough shot. We don't know what is going to happen.
No, indeed. Because, of course, P. Diner, this trip has been, I think, such a disaster on so many levels. They knew they had to do it because, of course, they were coming to Althorpe, we believe, to secure the footage or the stories for the 30th anniversary projects, likely a documentary planned for next year, and they need the money out of that. But at the same time, it makes a complete mockery of all of the security claims that these two have made for so many years. And P. Diner, remember, I have always said, I have long said for about the last year or 2 years, trust me, there is a way that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle could fly into the country with their children, be totally protected, not be photographed at all, see the king, get to Balmoral. I always said it was completely possible. Now, as it turned out, they did it at Highgrove, but it was completely possible. High-profile celebrities, Pete Diner, do it all the time. But unfortunately, Harry and Meghan are now stuck between a rock and a hard place because it's like, well, what, you did come in and it was totally fine and you didn't have security, so what, you're going to continue this battle? Why? You said you hate the UK. You said you didn't want to have an official role here. What do you want? Do you know what I mean? Do you want a private life where you're safe and you can come and where you can see your friends and family? Or do you want the security so that you can undertake formal duties, in which case you've got to undo the entire Sandringham Summit, which no one wants and there's no public demand for, so it's not going to happen.
Right. Like he undermined his own situation. Like, they did go to Highgrove. Everything was fine. And once again, Harry's life is in disarray. And I just don't know how he can say anything ever again about his security because we see that there's not a problem there. I don't know what's next for Harry and what he is going to do, but he needs to get a plan. Somebody needs to come and rescue this man. It's an emergency. Like, what in the world is happening with him at this point?
Well, I know, because P. Diner,
Yeah.
there's also massive financial implications from the week. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think enough people are talking about this. Harry is such a man-child. He was just like, oh, I had my meeting with David Sherborne, and I'm just not going to think about the court case. No. This is not just a court case. This was the case that you staked your reputation on, and you were completely misled by liars, by criminals, by phone hackers, by people who tried to destroy me, so I know exactly how terrible they all are. And the consequences are real, because there are obviously real financial consequences, but there are also real reputational consequences. And just because King Charles granted you this meeting does not mean that those reputational consequences have gone away. I mean, I was very struck by this week, P. Diner, the Times, which is considered the sort of establishment newspaper in the United Kingdom, the newspaper of record, actually suggesting that Harry should lose his title as a Councillor of State. Now, that's something that someone like me, P. Diner, has called for a long, long time. But the Times newspaper had never called for this. It was as a direct response to his truly deranged public statement in the wake of losing that case, where he accused the judge, the King's judge, a highly respected judge, by the way, Justice Nicklin, who is likely to become a Supreme Court justice at some point, of being responsible for a whitewash. And this is the argument from the Times newspaper. And again, I just want to stress to everyone, it's not something that you wouldn't have heard on this show before, but it's because an establishment newspaper in the United Kingdom is now officially making the argument. They're not bringing someone in like they sometimes do, like Tom Bower, to make the argument. This is an official editorial coming from the Times of London. So I'm just trying to paint the picture of why that is particularly significant. And I just want to read what they said, P. Diner. Rather than accept the considered opinion of a British judge, just as he did with previous proceedings which found in his favour, Prince Harry responded in a style all too familiar, lashing out with high emotion and unproven accusations. In a joint statement with Baroness Lawrence of Clarendon, whom he was said to have encouraged into the case, he described the result as a, quote, complete and obvious whitewash, but sadly not altogether unexpected. And the exoneration of the Mail is shocking and totally unwarranted. Yet it would seem Mr. Justice Nicklin simply sought to do his job diligently and forensically by examining each claim on its evidential strength rather than making generic assumptions. Prince Harry, not for the first time, has displayed little sense of the gravity of his words and actions. There will now be hearings as to costs, which could result in a sizable financial burden on claimants. Furthermore, in impugning the integrity of a member of the British judiciary, the Duke of Sussex has smeared the very legal system that is administered in the name of the Crown, although independent in its operations under the authority of his father. This is regrettably part of a pattern. Although often professing a desire to escape from the royal drama, Prince Harry appears addicted to generating it. His explosive Oprah interview was followed by an accusatory memoir, Spare, and a long battle with the Home Office over his security, in which his claim was last year dismissed by the Court of Appeal. More recently, with his chaotic signals over a possible stay in Buckingham Palace in the thick of a court case, he has yet again risked embroiling the king in constitutionally embarrassing positions. It need not be so. Many people would understand if Prince Harry wished to pursue a truly private life, in which he quietly sought happiness and steadily rebuilt his damaged family relations. It is welcome news that he and his wife have been able to bring their children to see the king for the first time in 4 years. But in the face of his seemingly strong desire publicly to confront, oppose and malign the institutions of the British state and their decisions, his constitutional role within the UK should not continue. He remains by law a Councillor of State, although he is prevented at present from performing that role owing to not being a working royal or living in the UK. Further legislation should be considered to remove the title entirely. As the late Queen made clear when she gave her blessing for her grandson and his wife to depart royal life, no halfway role is possible. While Prince Harry may often seem confused about that, Britain should not be. And Pete, I don't think we are. I don't think anyone wants Harry to have a formal role. I mean, this guy is so deeply unpopular now. And it's actually only really the mainstream media that in a lot of ways have been trying to get him back, trying to go with this Project Thor. But actually, I think the British public have made their decision. And the decision is we don't want him to have any formal role whatsoever. And so I think what was so astonishing about this, Pete Diner, was the fact that a relatively sympathetic newspaper, I mean, you saw the Times having no issues with the private reunion, for example, with King Charles actually saying this title has to go.
Yeah. When you look at it, Harry does a lot of things. He goes off of his feelings, and it's all about his emotions. He's not living in the adult world where you have to have proof, and you should not say negative things about, your father's courts. You should live your life based on the facts and information that, a judge has to do what he does in terms of his job. It's not about their feelings on you. And this is why everything around Harry is so chaotic and there's so much drama. It's because there are emotions involved, and Harry needs a check. He needs to be shown that life is not going to revolve around your feelings and your emotions. That is why everything is so chaotic around him. And I believe the fact that he is living now in America, he himself said that is his new home a few years ago. That right there disqualifies him from being counselor of state. So there's justifiable reasons to remove it. And now that it's out there on the mainstream like this, let's get the ball moving and let's make some grown-up decisions and remove it and force Harry to live in an adult world with real consequences based on your choices, because it's the best thing for him. All they're doing is feeding the beast of this child when he doesn't have consequences to his behavior. It's making it worse. Stand up and do something so that he learns something about his choices. Remove it is what I say.
And none of his behavior, Pete Diner, is appropriate. I mean, we're learning so much more. So Camilla Long is a highly respected columnist here in the United Kingdom for the Sunday Times. I mean, she's very much part of the mainstream media, but she attended Harry's trial. And she was there. She watched the judge. She watched Prince Harry give evidence. But she made quite a shocking revelation in her column about this case. It was headlined, "I've never seen a judge so angry as in Prince Harry versus the Mail. This was not just celebrity nonsense, and we should all be livid." So that's her message to the British people. But she revealed quite a shocking confrontation between herself and someone operating on behalf of Prince Harry. Now, I can only assume it's Liam Maguire, who is now Harry's main PR representative, but she doesn't name him. Let me just take you through what happened. So she writes, "A group of activists had persuaded themselves it was necessary to do almost anything, to bully whoever they wanted, to allege whatever they wanted, to use as much money as they wanted, to crush a decent paper because they disagreed with that paper politically and therefore thought they had the moral high ground. No one was off limits, even journalists covering the case." On the first day of the trial, Harry's PR man, so again, I'm making it an assumption that it's Liam Maguire. She doesn't say that, but she says Harry's PR man rather than his lawyer, swaggered up to me, so arrogance, to tell me Harry didn't like the tone of one of my pieces. I had suggested the prince might be a liar. Who is Harry to enforce what is acceptable to think and what isn't? He doesn't even live here. If his team had time to try and bully me, what would they do to other more vulnerable people? The emotional weak celebs he lured into this case. Or Doreen Lawrence, what does her life look like now that a share of the £50 million legal bill is hanging over her head? And we'll come to that. But Pete Diner, I just thought it was such an interesting insight into the way that Prince Harry, he actually, can we just say it, Pete Diner, he operates as a thug. He operates as like a mafia thug behind the scenes. And you'll note it's actually Camilla Long. And I know Camilla Long. She's a tough woman, okay? She's a tough woman. She's done the hard yards of journalism. But she used the word bully there. She used the word that Harry's team were bullying people. And she clearly felt bullied, because I guess it's quite a shocking thing. Someone comes up to you and says, "The prince doesn't like the tone of your piece." Well, too bad. Too bad. Right. We don't like the tone of you suggesting, that Catherine is a racist. It's outright.
It's like, who are you? You big man child, I mean, it's ridiculous. Harry is just living in a fantasy world. He really is. He thinks he is someone who knows what he's talking about. He is the furthest person from any truth that I know, because he just lives in a life that is not even living on the same planet, because he thinks it's all about how he feels. Harry doesn't seem to understand, that there are places to say certain things like that, and you don't put that out there in the public domain that, you don't like the tone of something. I mean, who are you? You're somebody that doesn't even, have a real job. Like you don't even have money to even cover the cost of this whole case that you brought out. Like, you have created so many problems for so many people. Who should be listening to you? Like, the audacity of this man. Like, that's why I say, Dan, this man needs a serious smackdown, because he's emboldened to keep doing all the things that he's doing.
But he's ruining others now, Pete Diner, because the Doreen Lawrence thing is really interesting, right? Because her son was murdered. So a lot of people have a huge amount of sympathy for her. And so Harry knows that. And I believe for PR reasons, nothing more. He's briefed, "Oh, well, don't worry. Doreen Lawrence isn't going to have to pay. So look at this, an exclusive. with sources close to Harry saying he is protective. This is an exclusive to The Guardian, protective of the social campaign and will not see her out of pocket. It is understood that whatever the outcome, Lawrence, who was persuaded to join the legal action by Prince Harry and his legal team, will not have to pay any of the share of the costs of the failed case. Nobody, least of all the Duke, who is very protective over Doreen, is going to see her out of pocket. Hearings later this month will begin to hammer out the cost of the case. Insurance was taken out to cover the claimants and their lawyers in the event of losing the action. The court approved budgets of £4.1 million for the claimants and £4.4 million for A&L, which would be covered by the insurance. The judge, Mr. Justice Nickling, could, however, rule that the claimants' team should pay more of A&L's bill. The Times also reported it was possible the claimants and insurers could challenge their policy, but there is no suggestion it wishes to do so. But it's like, oh, okay, Harry, so you're protective of Doreen Lawrence. Well, you've completely destroyed her reputation. You've completely destroyed her relationship with the Daily Mail. She didn't need this. She didn't need this stress. You took her down a garden path. But okay, are you putting your hand into your pocket, Harry, to cover her share of the costs? Or are you just going to be asking Elton John again, who's sick of being treated like a bank? Do you understand what I mean? It's like, at some point, Harry, you've either got to shut up, stop this, apologize, or put your money where your mouth is. Pay yourself. Do you really believe he's going to do that, Pete Diner? Do you really believe Meghan Markle, who is acutely aware of the dire financial straits they're in, is going to allow that? I doubt it. So what he's basically saying is, oh, well, I'm going to protect her, but I'm not actually going to pay for her, but someone else will. It's always someone else's issue, isn't it? And the chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to be responsible. He really doesn't. He's done so many things that were not responsible. Like, how can you believe anything that this man says? I mean, he says things and he doesn't even have a clue. But I think to the point around Elton John, yeah, he is trying to lean on people because he himself can't take responsibility. And that's part of Harry's problem. This whole case should have not been even brought to court. It's ridiculous that he even is in this situation, considering he knew he would never have been able to pay this bill should he lose. So why would he even go forward with it? You know, and it's like he wants to lean on other people because that's what Meghan and Harry do. They're asking other people for, you know, a place to stay, to take their private jets. They're truly grifters. And he's going to keep grifting and grifting because no one's letting him know. But finally, I believe Elton John is saying something about it, that, you know, he's not a bank. And that's a good thing because Harry needs to be told more often, because he seems to keep putting himself in these positions because he feels like, you know, somebody else will take care of it. And usually they do. And that's been the problem, you know. So finally, I think he's met the end of the road here, and there's not going to be a solution for him. What is he going to actually do now? Where he's going to get this money? How is he going to protect, you know, Miss Lawrence? Like how? Like with what money? Yeah. Like you're speaking off the side of your face right now, Harry. What's
exactly.
Your solution?
Money, let's be honest, you don't have, because you've created this disastrous situation for yourself. You've blocked yourself in with massive security costs. You've blocked yourself in with a massive mortgage. And you've also blocked yourself in because no one wants to give you money anymore. No one wants to work with you because you've just been such a nightmare. Oh my goodness, Pete Diner, what a week. What a week it has been for the royal family.
This video is for news reporting, commentary, and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available information and personal analysis. We strive for accuracy but encourage viewers to verify information through official sources.